How to Reinvent Yourself in 30 Days, the mind bending framework for high achievers who climb the wrong mountain. Alright, hello and welcome to this video. I know what you're thinking, another self help guru promising overnight transformation. But here's the thing, I'm not talking about changing your morning routine or reading more books. I'm talking about something far more fundamental and far more dangerous to your current identity. I was able to go from feeling stuck in a six-figure tech job to becoming a successful content creator, coach, and a portrait photographer, all by doing deep identity work. So let's get right into it. It does not matter how quickly you climb a mountain if it's the wrong mountain. Let's talk about the success trap. See, if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you're living what everyone else calls the dream. You've got the six-figure salary, the impressive title, maybe the corner office. People look at your LinkedIn and think you've made it. Your parents are proud. Your college friends are envious. But here's what they don't see, and here's what you know all too well. You wake up every Monday with a pit in your stomach that no amount of success seems to fill. That Sunday night, dread has become your weekly ritual. You catch yourself staring out the window during meetings, wondering, is this really it? Is this what I worked so hard for? The success you climbed mountains to achieve feels like a beautifully decorated prison. And the cruelest part, you feel guilty for feeling this way because you know how good you have it on paper. Now here's something that's going to shock you. Research from the Journal of Vocational Behavior reveals that 67% of high-achieving professionals experience what they call a significant crisis of meaning within 5 years of reaching their career pinnacle. That's 2 out of 3 people who supposedly made it, questioning everything. 2/3 of working adults reported feeling unfulfilled at work, and 58% are actively considering a career change. But here's the problem most people face when they realize they're unhappy. They know something's wrong, but they don't know how to change it. They feel trapped by what I call the golden handcuffs, the salary, the status, the lifestyle they've built around their success. And every year that passes makes the leap feel more impossible. The self-doubt creeps in stronger. Maybe I just don't have it in me anymore. Maybe this is just life. Well, I'm here to tell you that's complete nonsense. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a complete framework for understanding why successful people, like yourself, often feel the most trapped, the psychological mechanics of rapid identity transformation, and a 30-day system that works even if you can't quit your job tomorrow. I'm going to show you how to go from quietly desperate to genuinely excited about your future without throwing away what you have built, without years of therapy or soul searching, and without waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. This isn't theory. This is a proven framework that compresses what usually takes people years into 30 days of focused transformation. Part 1. The Success Trap. Why high achievers feel most stuck. Let's start by understanding why you feel this way. Why do the most successful people often feel the most trapped? It starts with what I call the wrong mountain phenomena. Let me tell you about someone I coached recently. Let's call her Sarah. She's a composite of dozens of professionals who are in similar situation. Works in tech, earns 6 figures in a Fortune 500 company, beautiful house in the suburbs near Vancouver, respected by her colleagues. Parents couldn't be prouder, but she told me something that perfectly captures this. I feel like I did everything right in my career, only to discover it didn't really bring me joy, and it wasn't my idea of success to begin with. Now, this isn't a personal failing on Sarah's part, or yours for that matter. This is the predictable outcome of how we are taught to succeed in this world. Society sells us a very specific formula. Work hard in school, get good grades, get into a good college, get good grades there, get a prestigious job, climb the corporate ladder, and then supposedly be happy. But happiness was never actually part of the equation. We optimized for external metrics and completely ignored the internal alignment. The problem is that this formula treats success like a destination when it's actually a direction. We were taught to aim for specific outcomes, the salary, the title, the house, the car, instead of aligning with our deeper values and interest. So we get really good at hitting targets that other people set for us, while completely losing touch with what we actually want. Now, here's where it gets psychologically interesting. Why do smart, capable, resourceful people stay in careers that drain their souls? It comes down to 3 powerful psychological forces. First is loss aversion. We fear losing what we have more than we desire what we want. You have spent 15 years building expertise in your field. You've got the salary, the status, the professional identity. The idea of walking away from all that triggers every alarm bell in your nervous system, even if you're miserable. Your brain treats your current situation like survival, even when it's slowly killing your spirit. Second is the sunk cost fallacy. You think, I've invested 15 years in this field, I went to grad school for this, I just can't throw it all away. And here's the thing, those aren't investments, they're education. The skills you have developed, the problem solving abilities you have honed, the leadership experience you have gained, none of that disappears when you change direction. It all becomes part of your unique value proposition in whatever you do next. Third, and this is the big one, is what I call identity fusion. Your job title has become so integrated with your sense of self that you literally don't know who you are without it. If I'm not a lawyer, who am I? If I'm not a VP, what's my value? If I'm not climbing the corporate ladder, what's the point? This creates what I call the competence paradox. You're incredibly skilled at solving complex problems at work, complex negotiations and deals, organizational challenges, technical obstacles that would stump most people, but you can't figure out what would make you happy. You can optimize systems all day long, but you struggle to design meaning for your own life. You give brilliant advice to your team members about their careers, but you can't apply that same clarity to yourself. It's like being a master architect who's forgotten how to design their own house. Now, here's one of the cruelest aspects of this trap: the isolation. You can't talk to your family about this because there is sacrifice for your education and they see your complaints as ingratitude. You can't talk to your teammates because they think you're crazy to complain about success. Your friends see you as having it all and they don't understand your struggle. So you carry this burden alone, feeling ungrateful and confused and increasingly desperate. This isolation creates what I call success shame, the guilt of being unhappy when you should be grateful. The fear that admitting dissatisfaction means you're weak or entitled. The belief that wanting more makes you selfish. You start questioning your own feelings. Maybe I'm just being ungrateful. Maybe this is what adult life is supposed to be like. But here's what makes it worse: the time pressure multiplier. Every year makes the decision harder. Lifestyle creep increases your financial obligations. Your mortgage, your kids' school, your parents' expectations, they all create additional pressure. Your professional identity becomes more calcified. You become known for being the sales guy, the tech guy, the marketing director. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to imagine yourself as anything else. And the self-doubt grows stronger with each passing year. Maybe I just don't have it in me anymore. Maybe I'm too old to start over. Maybe this is just what a grown-up means, trading your dreams. Maybe this is just what being a grown-up means, trading your dreams for security. But here's what the research actually shows about mid-career transitions, and this might surprise you. Your 30s and 40s are actually optimal times for reinvention. You have resources now that you didn't have in your 20s. You have experience, skills, networks, and financial cushions. You understand now how systems work. You know how to learn quickly and execute effectively. You still have enough runway ahead of you to build something meaningful. And get this, 88% of career changers report being happier after making the transition. 69% feel more fulfilled, and 65% report significantly less stress. So if the reinvention works so well, why don't more people do it? Part 2. The mythology of gradual change. The answer lies in one of the most persistent myths in our culture: the idea that meaningful change has to be slow, gradual, and incremental. We've been conditioned to believe that transformations takes years, that you need to ease into it, that radical change is somehow dangerous or responsible. This is complete nonsense, and I'll tell you why. Traditional change models are actually designed to fail. They assume that your identity is fixed and that you need external proof before you can internally shift. They tell you to take baby steps, to ease into it, to make sure you're ready before you make any bold moves. But here's what neuroscience reveals about how change actually works. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself through something called neuroplasticity. Every experience, every thought, every action creates new neural pathways and strengthens or weakens existing ones. And here's the key insight. intense focus periods of change create faster and more durable neural pathways. Intense focus periods of change create faster and more durable neural pathway formation than gradual scattered effects. And here's the key insight. Intense focus periods of change create faster and more durable neural pathway formation than gradual scattered efforts. Think about it this way. When you learned to drive, you didn't spend 2 years slowly transitioning from pedestrian to driver. You had intensive lessons, you practiced intensively, and within a few weeks or months, you had completely transformed your relationship with transportation. When you went to college, you didn't gradually ease into being a student over the course of 2 years. You showed up on campus and immediately began embodying that identity. The same principle applies to career and life transitions, but we've been taught to be afraid of it. Now, let me explain how reality actually works, because this is crucial to understanding why 30-day transformation is not only possible but optimal. There's an identity reality feedback loop that's constantly operating in your life, whether you're aware of it or not. It works like this. Your beliefs shape your perception. Your perception influences your action. Your actions create your results. Your results reinforce your beliefs. This loop is always running, and it's incredibly powerful. Most people try to change their results while keeping their identity the same. They want different outcomes with the same self-concept. They chase external changes while maintaining their internal status quo. This creates exhaustion and inevitable return to baseline. Here's an example. Let's say you want to start a business, but you still identify as an employee and have a bad relationship with self-trust, belief, and risk-taking. You might take some actions. Maybe you read some books, attend a workshop, even start working on an idea. But because your core identity is still employee, you'll unconsciously sabotage yourself. You'll procrastinate on important tasks. You'll second-guess your decisions. You'll look for evidence that it's not working. And when you inevitably give up, you'll realize, you will say, see, I knew I wasn't cut out for this entrepreneurship thing. But the problem wasn't your capability. The problem was the identity mismatch. Now here's where it gets really interesting. There are 3 distinct stages to any meaningful transformation. And understanding these stages is crucial to making your 30-day reinvention work. Stage 1 is what I call the lie. This is going to be day 1 through 10. You begin by claiming an identity that doesn't feel true yet. You say things like, I am someone who builds meaningful work, or I am someone who creates value in the world, or I am someone who lives according to my core values. Your brain is going to resist this. It's going to feel fake, uncomfortable, maybe even ridiculous. This is completely normal and absolutely necessary. Example, write down your current identity and your new identity on a sticky note on your work desk. Set it as your phone's wallpaper. Write it on your mirror. I'm someone who's capable to rebuilding my life. You're not faking it till you make it. You're training your nervous system to accept a new possibility. You're literally rewiring your brain to consider a different version of yourself. The discomfort you feel is your old identity fighting for survival. And this is where you start challenging it by repeating your new identity to yourself. Eventually, you're going to win. Stage 2 is the bridge. This is day 11 through 20. You start acting consistently from your future identity, even though it still doesn't feel completely natural. If you have wanted to start creating content, you take small steps to start a YouTube channel because you are someone who loves creative endeavors. This is where the magic starts happening. Evidence begins accumulating in small ways. You have conversations you wouldn't have had before. You notice opportunities you would have missed. Your reticular activating system, that's the part of your brain that filters what you pay attention to, it starts tuning into things that align with your new identity. The new version of yourself begins to feel possible rather than absurd. You start getting a glimpse of what it would be like to actually be this person. These moments are crucial. They're proof to your brain that the transformation is real. Stage 3 is the lock-in stage. This is day 21 to 30. The new identity becomes your default setting. Actions flow naturally from the new self-concept. You're not forcing behaviors anymore. They just feel like the obvious thing to do. External results begin matching your internal transformation. People start responding to you differently. Opportunities start showing up that align with your new direction. This is when you know the transformation has taken hold. You have completed the most difficult part of any major life change. the identity shift. Everything else becomes a matter of execution. Now, here's something crucial to understand about this process. You're not waiting for external proof before you shift internally. That's backwards. You shift internally first, and then reality adjusts to match your new operating system. This is based on what's called the observer effect in quantum physics. The act of observation changes what's being observed. At the subatomic level, particles exist in a state of probability until they are observed, and then they collapse into a specific state. The consciousness of the observer literally influences physical reality. Now, I'm not going to go down some new age rabbit hole here, but the principle applies to your personal transformation. How you observe yourself, how you see yourself, think about yourself, talk to yourself, literally shapes who you become. Your attention creates your reality. If you see yourself as stuck, trapped, limited, that's what you'll experience. If you begin to see yourself as someone who creates meaningful work, who builds value, who lives authentically, that's what you'll become. Part 3, a 30-day identity revolution framework. Now let's get to the actual framework. How do you orchestrate this transformation in 30 days? It comes down to 3 phases that correspond to 3 stages I just described. Phase 1 is your identity archaeology. This is where you excavate your authentic core and begin claiming your new identity. Phase 2 is belief architecture. This is where you build supporting structures for your new identity and start gathering evidence. Phase 3 is the action architecture. This is where you integrate the new identity into your daily life and begin creating external results. Let's start with phase 1, the identity archaeology. The first thing you need to understand is that you're not creating a new identity out of thin air. You are excavating an identity that's already there but has been buried under years of societal conditioning and external expectations. The person you are becoming isn't foreign to you. They're the most authentic version of you. Day 1 to 3 are about excavating your authentic core. And we start with what I call the childhood fascination audit. This isn't some nostalgic exercise, this is archaeological work. What captured your attention when you were 8, 10, 12 years old before career pressure and social expectations set in? What did you love doing so much that you lost track of time? For example, for some people, it was building things with their hands. For others, it was storytelling or organizing or teaching or performing. These aren't random interests, they are your motivational DNA. They reveal the core drives and satisfactions that make you who you are. If you enjoyed playing a guitar until society convinced you that you can't make a living out of it, this is where we reconsider this belief. Day 4 to 6 is about energy mapping. You're going to track your energy levels throughout a typical week. I want you to notice when you feel the most alive versus most drained. What activities naturally energize you? What contexts make you feel like you are in your element? This isn't about what you're good at. You might be great at something that drains you. This is about what lights you up from the inside. Your energy patterns reveal your authentic priorities better than any career assessment. For example, I love creating YouTube videos and I love editing, but editing also drains me. So I stick to a format of a video that I enjoy. Noticing your energy levels and doing an audit of what gives you energy versus what drains you will give you the raw material for the next steps. Then we move into values excavation, day 7 through 10. This is about identifying your real values, not what you think they should be. Most people operate from inherited values, what their parents valued, what society rewards, what their profession demands, but your authentic values might be completely different. So here's how you identify them. Think about the times in your life when you felt most proud, fulfilled, most like yourself. What values were you expressing in those moments? Maybe it was creativity or impact or independence or excellence or service. Whatever they are your true north. Everything you build needs to align with these core values, or you'll end up right back where you started. Now, once you have done this archaeological work, we get to the most important part of phase 1. This is crafting your identity declaration. This is your new operating system. This is who you are becoming. It needs to be specific enough to guide decision, but broad enough to allow for evolution. Here are some examples. I'm someone who builds systems that genuinely improve people's lives. I'm someone who helps avoid distractions so they can reclaim the time in their lives and not be on social media. I'm someone who helps others discover their potential. I'm someone who loves people how to play guitar. Notice the structure. I am someone who. This is present state. This is not I want to be or I hope to become. This is I am. You're claiming this identity right now, even though you don't have external proof yet, and that's okay. Now your brain is going to resist this. It's going to say, but that's not true. You're a lawyer, not a builder. You're an accountant, not a creator. That's fine, that's expected. You're going to say it anyway. You're training your nervous system to accept a new possibility. This brings us to phase 2, belief architecture. This is going to be day 11 through 20. Now that you have claimed your new identity, you need to build the supporting structures that make it believable to your unconscious mind. Your conscious mind might be on board with the change, but your unconscious mind still needs evidence. This is where we implement what I call the micro proof journal. Every single day, you're going to write down 3 small pieces of evidence that support your new identity. These can be tiny things: a conversation you had, a thought you noticed, a moment where you felt aligned with your future self. Your brain needs data points to make the leap believable. If you can't naturally think of action items that support your new identity, create 1 to 3 action items for the coming week to take actions towards that direction. Let me give you an example. Let's say your new identity is, I'm someone who helps others discover their potential. Your micro proof for the day might be, I gave my teammate some advice about her presentation, and she said it really helped. I found myself getting excited about a coaching program I saw online. I noticed I was naturally asking better questions in conversation today. These might seem insignificant, but they are not. They are evidence that your new identity is already emerging. The more you pay attention to these moments, the more your reticular activating system will start noticing them. You will literally begin to see more opportunities to express your new identity. Part 2, environmental design. Your environment is constantly sending signals to your subconscious about who you are. If you want to transform your identity, you need to transform your environment. This doesn't mean you need to quit your job and move to Bali, though if that's what calls to you, go for it. It means making strategic changes to your physical and digital environment that reinforce your new identity. Maybe you rearrange your workspace to reflect your creative side. Maybe you update your wardrobe to feel more like the leader that you're becoming. Maybe you change your morning routine to include time for writing or planning or meditation, whatever activities align with your future self. You also need to curate your media diet. Start following people who embody what you're becoming. Read books that expand your vision. Listen to podcasts that reinforce your new direction. Your inputs determine your mental patterns, so you need to be intentional about what you're feeding your mind. During this phase, you might also want to look into uninstalling apps that take away your focus, creating a morning, evening, and a personal organization routine that aligns with your new identity, networking with people in the similar domain as your new identity. Part 3, social testing. You need to start experimenting your new identity in social situations. Begin talking about your interests and goals with trusted friends. Notice their reactions. Practice articulating your vision until it feels natural. For example, I personally have a whiteboard in my apartment where I have my new identity written down with clear goals that I want to achieve. This reminds me to always align my thoughts and actions with the new identity. Instead of being someone who watches a lot of content and doom scrolls, my new identity is that of a mindset coach who helps people realize that they have a choice in life. That just because they chose a particular career path doesn't mean it has to define their whole life. This is crucial because identity formation happens in relationship. You need social feedback to make the new identity feel real. Start with people who are most likely to be supportive. You're not looking for permission, but you're looking for resonance. You might also want to start spending time in new environments where your identity can emerge more naturally. If you're transitioning from corporate work to creative work, start spending time around other creatives. Find a meetup group for photographers if you're interested in exploring photography. If you're moving from employee to an entrepreneur, start hanging out with other business owners. Maybe join meetups for entrepreneurs. Your social environment shapes your possibilities. Example, last year when I took photography seriously, I joined a Vancouver-based photographer meetup group. The connections that I made there helped me level up my photography skills so fast that I was able to start doing paid portrait shoots within the first 3 months. Phase 3, action architecture. This is going to be day 21 through 30. This is where the fun part starts. This is where your new identity starts expressing itself through consistent action. By this point, The identity should be feeling more natural, more like you. Now it's time to start building external evidence that matches your internal transformation. Part 1. First bad draft. The first part of this phase is creating your first bad draft. You're going to start building something aligned with your new identity. This doesn't need to be your final career, it's a learning lab. It could be a side project, a blog, a consultation that you do for a friend, a creative work, a small business experiment. The goal is to practice being your future self while still maintaining the security of your current situation. This is where you will take the first step towards building something that aligns with your new identity and purpose. This is where most people get stuck. They think they need to have everything figured out before they start. They want the perfect business plan, the complete skill set, the guaranteed outcome. But that's not how transformation works. You learn by doing. You gain clarity through action, not analysis. Start with something small that you can execute while working your day job. Maybe it's writing about your area of expertise. Maybe it's offering to help friends with their challenges. Maybe it's creating YouTube videos on your topic of interest, just like what I'm doing right now. The specific form matters less than the fact that you're expressing your new identity through action. Part 2. Skill acquisition. Identify the top 3 skills your future self needs and begin developing them intensively. Use the 80-20 principle here. What 20% of skill development will create 80% of the impact? So for example, for me, because I love creating YouTube videos, I'm not optimizing for editing videos really good, although I know how to edit videos. I have a hiking YouTube channel where I edit videos beautifully, but my goal with the content around mindset coaching is to provide more value. So while I can spend 10 hours editing videos, I'm really doubling down and optimizing for volume. And so I'm doing a lot of volume with not as much editing. I'm literally sharing my screen, I'm scripting my video, writing my thoughts in a Notion template, and then I'm just talking to it. So figure out what are the crucial skills that you might need in your topic of skill development or what you're going to do, and then double down on improving those skills. If you're transitioning into private consulting, maybe you need to develop speaking skills, content creation skills, and sales skills. If you're moving into creative work, maybe you need technical skills, marketing skills, and project management skills. Whatever they are, begin working on them systematically. The key is to focus on skills that are immediately applicable. Don't go back to school for 4 years to get a degree you might not need. Start with skills you can develop and apply within weeks or months. You should also remember to not learn skills for the sake of it and must apply them concurrently, as the best way to learn is by doing. It is important to not fall victim to the all or nothing trap and spend your time wisely into only acquiring the skills you absolutely need in the current stage. Part 3. Integration and launch. This is going to be the last week, so day 26 to 30. By days 26 through 30, you should be living from your new identity more consistently than your old one. This is when you make it official. Create a daily practice that reinforces your new identity. This might be a morning routine that includes powerful visualization, planning, and one aligned action. It might be an evening review where you celebrate evidence of your transformation. Whatever it is, make it sustainable because this practice will continue beyond the 30 days. So for example, I have weekly objectives, and if I have a goal of posting 3 videos every week, I make sure I absolutely do it. At the same time, I'm also paying attention to my coaching course, doing a lot of sessions with my clients as well as my peers in the coaching course group. And at the same time, I'm also working on building my school community. By the way, you can find the link in the description. So it's about like really being deliberate and intentional about how you're going to spend every single day and not falling privy to distractions and really living intentionally and holding yourself accountable. At the same time, you might also need some kind of public declaration. This creates accountability and attracts opportunities. It doesn't have to be a grand announcement. It could be updating your social media profiles to something that you're doing, having conversations with key people in your network, or simply starting to show up differently in your current role. You might also join a school community such as my free school community. It's called the Identity Reset, where you can network with like-minded people and stay accountable. The group is dedicated to people who are successful in their careers but are still unfulfilled, and we talk and go really deep into ways to figure out your deepest purpose that is truest to you, and then build or reclaim your life around it. So you can check the link in the description and then join the group. The goal is to close the gap between your private transformation and your public expression. The more integrated these become, the more real and sustainable your new identity becomes. Part 4. Advanced strategies and common obstacles. Now, of course, anything that you do, you have to account for obstacles. Otherwise, none of this works, right? So now let's talk about some of the obstacles that you're likely going to encounter and how to navigate them successfully. The first and biggest obstacle is financial fear. This stops most people than anything else. You think you can't afford to make a change because you have obligation. And rightly so, you have mortgage, kids, lifestyle expenses. But here's what most people don't realize. You have more options than you think. There are essentially 3 transition strategies, and only one of them requires you to take significant financial risk. Option 1 is the gradual transition. You build your new direction while maintaining your current job. This is what most smart people do. You use your evenings and weekends to develop skills, build projects, and create opportunities in your new field. Once you've built enough momentum and financial cushion, then you make the jump. This can take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years depending on your situation and goals. Option 2 is the sabbatical approach. You save up enough money to take a planned break, maybe 6 months to a year, to explore your new direction intensively. This works well if you have substantial savings. Option 2 is the sabbatical approach. You save up enough money to take a planned break, maybe 6 months to a year, to explore your new direction intensively. This works well if you have substantial savings or if your spouse can support the family temporarily. It's riskier than option 1 but faster. Option 3 is the skills transfer. So you move laterally within your industry or to a related industry using your existing expertise as a bridge. Maybe you're a lawyer who becomes a business consultant because you don't like your job, or an engineer who wants to move into project management, or a teacher who becomes a corporate trainer. You're not starting over completely, you're pivoting your existing skills into a new direction. Most people assume you have to quit your job and start from zero, but that's rarely the best approach. The key is to be strategic about your transition, not dramatic. And this is exactly the step where most people don't even start because they think they need to do something major and uproot their life. The second major obstacle is what I call the golden handcuffs. You need to honestly assess your real financial needs versus your lifestyle preferences. Most people discover they need far less money than they think they do. Sit down and calculate your actual minimum financial needs. Not what you would prefer to have, but what you actually need to maintain a good quality of life. Include everything: housing, food, transportation, insurance, debt payments, kids' expenses, emergency fund. You might be surprised at how much lower this number is than your current salary. Then explore options to reducing these expenses without sacrificing what's truly important. Maybe you can work remotely and move somewhere with lower cost of living. Maybe you can downsize your house or drive a less expensive car. Maybe you can find ways to reduce childcare costs or to eliminate unnecessary subscription and expenses. You can do meal planning. You can stop going for expensive vacations in the short term. You can downgrade your car. There are so many ways to go about it once you decide to make this as an intention. The goal here is to not become a monk, but to create financial flexibility that makes your transition possible. Many people stay trapped not because they actually need their current income, but because they have never questioned their spending patterns. Imposter syndrome and self-sabotage tendencies. The third obstacle is imposter syndrome, and here's something that might surprise you. Imposter syndrome is actually healthy when you're making a significant change. It signals that you're attempting something beyond your current identity. Everyone feels this when they're growing. High achievers just hide it better. Sometimes I feel shy talking on camera, but I still record the videos. So it's not about what you feel, but it's about what you do. The goal isn't to eliminate imposter syndrome, but to act despite it. And the way you overcome is to not through fake confidence, but through building real competence. Focus on developing actual skills rather than trying to feel more confident. Document small wins to create an evidence trail. Seek feedback from people who are already doing what you want to do. Competence builds authentic confidence. As you get better at the skills your new identity requires, the imposter syndrome naturally diminishes. The fourth obstacle is family and social pressure. This is a big one, especially for high achievers. Your family and friends have a vested interest in keeping you the same because your change threatens their worldview. If you can reinvent yourself, what's their excuse for staying stuck? So you must prepare for resistance. When you announce your intention to make a change, some people will be supportive, but others will try to talk you out of it. They'll say things like, "You're crazy to leave such a good job," or "What about your pension?" or "You have too many responsibilities to take risks now." Understand that their reactions come from their own fears, not from a genuine concern for your well being. Set boundaries around unsolicited advice. You don't need the permission to change your life. At the same time, don't try to do this completely alone. Find at least one person who believes in your vision. Join communities of other people making similar transitions. You can join my community for free, by the way. Consider working with a coach or a mentor who's been where you want to go. The fifth obstacle is analysis paralysis. This is especially common among high achievers because you're used to having detailed plans and clear success metrics, but transformation doesn't work that way. You don't need to have everything figured out before you start. Clarity comes through action, not analysis. Start with the next logical step, then the next one after that. Each step will reveal information you didn't have before, and you'll course correct as you go. Think of it like driving at night. You can only see as far as your headlights illuminate, but that's enough to make the entire journey. You don't need to see the destination from the starting point. Treat your career change as a series of experiments rather than a single life or death decision. Small tests reduce risk and build confidence. Each experiment teaches you something valuable, whether it succeeds or fails. You're gathering data, not making permanent commitments, and it's not life or death. Part 5. The psychology of rapid identity transformation. Like the whole idea behind me writing this. Now I want you to dig deeper into why 30-day approach works when traditional change methods fail. It comes down to understanding how identity actually forms and shifts. Most people think identity is fixed. You are who you are based on your history, your experiences, your genetics. But neuroscience and psychology shows something very different. Your identity is actually much more fluid and malleable than we've been taught to believe. Your sense of self is created and maintained through a continuous process of storytelling. You're constantly telling yourself stories about who you are, what you're capable of, what's possible for you. These stories feel like facts, but they're actually interpretations of your experience. And here's the key insight. You can change stories. You literally can think yourself into a new identity, but it requires a specific approach. Traditional therapy and self-help focuses on understanding why you are the way you are. It tries to trace your current limitations back to their origins, your childhoods, your traumas, your conditionings. The assumption is that you understand where your problems came from, then you can heal from them. But this approach has a fundamental flaw. It reinforces your identification with your problems. The more you analyze and you ruminate about why you are stuck, the more stuck you become. You develop a very sophisticated understanding of your limitation, but you don't actually transcend them. The approach I am teaching you works differently, and that's why I believe coaching is a much better or suitable modality for people who want to better their lives. Instead of focusing where you came from, we focus on where you're going. Instead of trying to heal your past, we create your future. Instead of analyzing your limitations, we practice on your possibilities. This is based on what psychologists call future authoring. A big part of holistic and life coaching, by the way, is all about asking questions, doing appreciative inquiry, using positive psychology, and future authoring questions to help people come up with their own insights. So this is exactly the kind of work that I do with my clients as well. Research shows that people who write detailed descriptions of their future selves, who they want to become, what they want to achieve, how they want to live, experience significant improvements in motivation, goal achievement, and overall life satisfaction. But we take it a step further. Instead of just writing about your future self, you become embodying that future self now. You don't wait for external conditions to change. You change internally first, and then the reality adjusts to match. This works because of something called the as-if principle. See, when you act as if something is already true, your nervous system begins to treat it as true. Your brain literally cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you consistently imagine yourself as successful, confident, fulfilled, then act from that imagined identity, your brain begins to rewire itself to match. This is why visualization works for athletes. When a basketball player visualizes making free throws, their brain creates literal neural pathways that improve their actual performance. The same principle applies to identity transformation. But here's where most people go wrong with visualizations and affirmations. They try to imagine outcomes they don't actually believe are possible. They say things like, I'm wealthy, I'm loved when they're broke, or I'm confident when they're terrified. The gap between their current reality and their desired reality is so large that their nervous system rejects it. The key is to focus on identity rather than outcomes. Instead of saying I'm wealthy, you might say I'm someone who creates value. Instead of I'm confident, you might say I'm someone who acts despite fear. These identity statements are believable even when you don't have external proof yet. Another crucial element is emotional intensity. Information alone doesn't create lasting change. You need to feel your way into the new identity. This is why the 30-day intensive approach is so powerful. By compressing the transformation into a short focus period, you create the emotional intensity necessary for neural rewiring and triggering this change. Think about the most transformative experiences in your life: falling in love, losing a loved one, having a child, surviving a crisis. These experiences changed you rapidly because they were emotionally intense. You didn't gradually ease into being a parent or slowly transition into grief. The intensity of the experience created immediate and lasting change. We are applying the same principle to career and life transformation. Instead of trying to change gradually over the years, we create an intensive experience that produces rapid results. This is also why community element is so important. Transformation happens in relationship. When you're surrounded by people who see you as your future self, it becomes easier to see yourself that way too. This is called the looking glass self. Your sense of identity is partly formed by how others see you. If everyone in your current environment sees you as the lawyer or the accountant, it's harder to see yourself as something else. But when you join a community of entrepreneurs or creators or coaches, whatever your new identity is, you're surrounded by people who can easily imagine you in that role. This is one reason why people often transform rapidly when they move to a new city or start a new company. The environment shift allows for identity shift because you're not constrained by other people's existing perceptions of you. Part 6: Integration and long-term success. As we wrap up, I want to talk about what happens after the 30 days, because transformation isn't just about making a dramatic change. It's about sustaining that change and continuing to evolve. The first thing to understand is that reinvention isn't a one-time event. It's a skill you develop and practice throughout your life. The market changes, you change, opportunities change. The ability to continually reinvent yourself becomes a competitive advantage in an uncertain world. This is why I recommend what I call the anti-career approach. Instead of putting all your eggs in one basket and focusing on building a career in one domain, you focus on building skills that are overarching and future-proof while you pursue your goals. This reduces risk while increasing fulfillment. It allows you to explore different aspects of your identity without having to commit completely to one path. Maybe you become a consultant in your area of expertise while also honing your skills that would allow you to get into a creative side business. Maybe you do part-time work in your field while developing a coaching practice. Maybe you create multiple revenue streams around different aspects of your expertise. The key is to build optionality based on your unique set of skills rather than training one narrow approach for another. By following this approach, you will be building anti-fragile career systems. Instead of being vulnerable to industry changes or economic downturns, you will always be able to rely on your unique set of skills to make the best out of any curveballs life throws at you. When one area contracts, another might expand. When one skill becomes obsolete, you have others to fall back on. You become someone who thrives on change rather than being threatened by it. Now let's talk about how to measure success in your new path. This is crucial because if you use the old metrics, you'll end up recreating the old problems. Most people measure career success through external metrics: salary, title, company size, industry prestige. But these metrics led you to feel empty in the first place. Your new success metrics that actually correlate with you need new success metrics that actually correlate with fulfillment. Things like energy levels and enthusiasm. How excited do you feel about your work? How much energy do you have at the end of the day? Do you wake up looking forward to what you're going to work on, or do you hit the snooze button 5 times? Alignment with values is another crucial metric. Are you experiencing your core values through your work? Are you contributing to things you actually care about? Are you solving the problems that matter to you? Set weekly reminders to step back and reflect on your new path, because the goal is to not escape one ditch only to end up in another. You must reflect and remember at all times that you have the power to choose your own destiny and fine-tune your identity that aligns with what you truly want to achieve and how you truly want to show up in the world. Think about the impact you want to create and reflect back on if your new actions are contributing towards that impact. Growth and learning rate is also important. Are you continuously developing your new skills and capacities? Are you being challenged in ways that energize you rather than drain you? Are you becoming more of who you want to be through your work? And of course, financial sustainability is also important. I am not advocating for poverty in the name of passion, but the goal is sustainable income that supports the life you want, not the maximum income regardless of the cost to your soul. The integration challenge is real. How do you maintain important relationships during your transition? How do you balance personal growth with family obligations? How do you manage the identity shift in the professional setting where people still see you in your old role? When people joke and say, oh, you're a coach now or you're a YouTuber now, how do you respond to that? This requires clear communication and boundary setting. You need to help the important people in your life understand what you're doing and why. You need to set realistic expectations about how the transition will affect them, and you need to stay grounded in your values while pursuing your dreams. You also need to develop what I call the learning acceleration model. The world is changing rapidly, and the skills that you got here won't necessarily get you where you want to go. You need to become exceptionally good at learning quickly, getting feedback, iterating rapidly, and staying ahead of trends in your new field. This means building feedback loops into everything you do. How can you get rapid, actionable feedback on your performance? How can you test your assumptions quickly and cheaply? How can you fail fast and learn faster? This is where you show up with a mindset of failing fast so you can improve and reiterate. It also means developing pattern recognition across domains. The more you can see connections between different fields and industries, the more valuable you become. Your unique combination of experiences become your unique advantage. Now, as we come to the end of the video, I want to address the elephant in the room. You might be thinking, this all sounds great in theory, but what if I am an exception? What if I'm too old, or I have too many obligations, or don't have the right skills, or fill in whatever limiting belief your mind is generating right now? Here's the truth. There are no exceptions, only excuses. I invite you to take the first step and give the steps mentioned in this video a try. Write them down and act on them. Worst case, you learn a thing or two. But I promise you, if you stick to it and take the actions, you will be able to create a new identity that no longer feels like a victim of circumstance, and you will be able to act from a place of self-trust, alignment, and confidence. Realize that the only real limitation is your willingness to believe that change is possible and take actions despite your fears. Everything else is just logistics that can be figured out. But let me be clear about something. This isn't positive thinking or wishful dreaming. This is about making a fundamental decision about how you want to live your life. It's about choosing growth over comfort, possibility over security, authenticity over conformity. That choice has consequences. Some people won't understand your decision. Some opportunities might close while others open. You might have to give up certain comforts or status symbols, at least temporarily. You might have to work harder in short term to create the freedom that you want in the long term. But here's what I know from performing a lot of deep work on myself and people I have closely worked with who made this transition successfully. The pain of staying stuck is always greater than the pain of change. The regret of not trying is always heavier than the temporary discomfort of transformation. The only question is whether you'll be 5 years older doing the work that drains you, or 5 years older having built something meaningful. Whether you'll be 5 years deeper into quiet desperation, or 5 years into an authentic life. That is your decision. The cost of inaction compounds over time. Every year you wait, the gap widens between who you are and who you could become. Your dissatisfaction grows, your sense of possibility diminishes, you start to settle for good enough and call it wisdom. But it's not wisdom, it's fear masquerading as prudence, and I'm here to tell you that you have another choice. The compound effect of bold action also works in your favor. One courageous decision changes everything. Your transformation gives others permission to change. You become an example of what's possible. The impact extends far beyond your own life. Your kids are watching you. Your kids are watching how you handle dissatisfaction. Your friends are noticing whether you settle or fight for what you want. Your colleagues are seeing whether success requires sacrificing your soul. You have the opportunity to model something different. So here's what I want you to do in the next 48 hours. Not next week, not when you feel ready, but the next 48 hours. First, complete the childhood fascination audit. Before you go to bed, spend at least 30 minutes remembering what you loved doing when you were young. Write it down, don't analyze it, just document it. Second, schedule 30 minutes tomorrow for the energy mapping exercise. Pay attention to when you feel most alive during your day. Notice what activities and contexts energize you versus drain you. For example, for me, if I am on my phone during the first few hours of the day, I have a really hard time focusing on tasks and I get agitated and irritated really quickly. So I really try to use Focus Timer app to set timers so that I'm not using my phone and I just focus on deep work and at least get 4 or 5 hours of deep work every day other than my 9 to 5. Right now it's midnight and I'm recording a video from the last 2 hours. So if you can eliminate distractions and figure out what drains you and not give in to it, you will be able to do a lot more during your day. Third, write your first identity declaration before bed tomorrow. So try to come up with a sentence based on what you liked as a kid and what your interests are. Try to write a sentence somewhere along the lines of, I am someone who. Complete the sentence based on what you discovered in the first 2 exercises. Say it loud even if it feels weird. Fourth, share your commitment with one supportive person. Tell them you're embarking on a 30-day identity transformation. Ask them to check in with you weekly. Accountability accelerates results. Set a calendar reminder for day 30 review. Document your journey through photos, journal entries, or videos. You'll want to remember how this felt when you're inspiring someone else to make their own change. If you'd like to join my school community and post daily updates for accountability, feel free to do so from the link in the description. Now, I want to leave you with the most important question you will ever ask yourself. Is the question that changes everything, and is the question that separates people who dream from the people who build. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do with your life? Now, remove the condition. What if failure was just feedback? What if the only real failure was never trying? What if today was the day your real life began? You're not your job title. You're not your past decisions. You're not your current circumstances. You are the person who chooses what comes next. And that choice is available to you right now. 30 days from now, you could be a completely different person. Not different in your core essence, but aligned with who you truly are. The only thing standing between you and that person is a decision. And you get to make the decision. You already have everything you need to begin. Your dissatisfaction is not a bug, it's a feature. It's your inner guidance system telling you that there's more available to you. The question isn't whether you can change. The question is whether you will. Make the decision. Take the first step. Begin today. Your future self is waiting. And if you have made it till the end, subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.